Hello and welcome to another edition of the podcast We Like Movies. Thank you for joining us and listening in. My name is Juan, here with Mark and Kevin, and we are ready to jump in once again to discuss Kevin's pick, The Sea Beast, a Netflix film released in 2022. This is an animated feature. Quick synopsis about the movie: it is a time in which there are great sea creatures roaming the earth that cause a great threat to humanity, and the principal weapon against these monsters are pirates, who are beast hunters. Um, then they meet this particular band of sea hunters who are the best, led by Captain Crow and his right hand man, Jacob Holland. Um, they encounter a little girl with a heritage of. She's an orphan, and her parents were sea hunters. But then she discovers a secret about the monsters, which changes reality as they know it. I'll leave it at that, and I will pass it on to Kevin to tell us his thoughts on his pick.
Why? Well, thank you very much, Juan, for that handoff. This episode might slightly lend into a critique of animation, but I'm gonna try to do my best to stay focused on the sea beast because I do believe it deserves our attention. Um, I actually changed my pick this week at the last minute because one of my favorite artists had mentioned this movie and gave it a recommendation. So I checked out the trailer and I thought it was solid enough to warrant a viewing and a review, and I'm glad I did. This was a fun little adventure movie that seemed familiar, but also uniquely its own. Like sort of like Moby Dick meets How to Train Your Dragon. It does a great job at world building, creating a mythology that seems true to their world, and it fleshes out some of the characters better than some live action movies we reviewed. These characters seem to actually have lived in this world before we even joined in on this little adventure. The story does trend to the slightly predictable side on some aspects, but they're done well enough for the most part. It's getting like I guess today it's getting so hard nowadays just to watch quality animation with a fun story without having to worry about what your children are seeing. And while this no means was a flawless movie, it was a fun movie that my kids have seen multiple times since we watched it, and they even quoted it this weekend while we were out on the boat. So to me, it's a genuinely enjoyable adventure with heart that's better than most things that Disney or Pixar has put out recently that isn't named Encanto. And that's my opinion.
Oh yeah, good.
Mark?
Oof, oof. Good shout out to Encanto. I love that movie, bro. I watch that movie every day.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really good.
well, with that being said, um, the Sea Beast um had me in the first half, and then completely lost me. I think it was way too long for what it was, and I kind of feel like I got the rug pulled out from underneath me because it just I by the time it ended, I didn't really care what was going on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Amen.
We got that. Mhm.
I'm with you there, man. I would like to hear Kevin's thoughts on the animation because that is what he does. So I think this is a great time for him to share his knowledge um, of that particular skill. But this was a god awful movie. Um,
Dang.
I'm with you, man. I was there at the beginning. I do agree with Kevin about the world building. The characters were, for the most part, very disappointing. Again, pretty two dimensional, where their motivation or even the changes that they underwent didn't really make sense. You didn't really have enough background. It was incredibly dull. There was no music. There was no humor in it. It was just preachy at the end, and it was ridiculous. Like, this is not a movie that I would even enjoy as a child. Like, this is not what animated movies used to be, with this highly moralistic little girl, who's teaching. She might as well have been Greta Thunberg. Like, it was so ridiculous, and I had a lot of hope for it, because again, I think the premise at the beginning was really exciting about, this world and the interaction with these monsters. The first monster, the green one, I thought was awesome. Then the most menacing one was this freaking little Pokemon. I mean, not little, but like this Pokemon looking thing that didn't look threatening at all. Like, and I guess maybe that's what they were going for, don't judge a book by its cover or perception, maybe different from reality. But it's like, I don't need a lesson. Just entertain me. If you can entertain me and give me a lesson, that's great. But when you forget to entertain and it's all about this stupid lesson that you're trying to teach, like, I'm out, and you didn't do your primary job, which was to entertain in any way, shape, or form. I completely agree with Mark. It was just too boring to even really attentively follow along after a certain point. It was just like, I'm just waiting for this to end because it never got better. It only got worse and worse and worse.
It started off on a high note. The first 10 minutes were great. That first battle, I was
The
really
opening.
excited because I thought we were going to watch them go on adventures of
Mhm.
fighting sea monsters. And I'm like, this is going to be really awesome. And just the way they did it, like, I really felt like I felt like Holland he was like the Superman of sea hunters, So like they built, I felt like they built him up like perfect. And then all of a sudden it was just like him babysitting. And yeah, I thought the first monster looked really cool, and then we have Red, who's supposed to be the most menacing beast of all time, and just ravaged the sea for years, and then we see this no nose puppy dog face, and I just go, oh, all right. And then the kids got even weirder looking. I'm just like, oh, okay. It was I they put all their budget into one sea monster.
Yeah.
And then they had somebody come and do the rest on freaking, I don't know, man.
I mean,
Microsoft Paint.
I mean, and this is where, Kevin's perspective will be very helpful, because for me, if you want to draw something menacing, I mean, I feel like the first thing is like sharp edges.
There's teeth sharp. What, are you gonna nub me to death?
I mean, bro, this guy was a plush toy.
I will say about what I said about the sea beast. It's supposed to be the fiercest one in the ocean, and that crab was beating the living daylights out of him until Jacob joined in.
Dude, like that's a creature. I'd be like, oh guys, come here, pull out your cameras. Look, it's coming by. Oh look, oh, it's coming out of the water. Oh look, it's getting close to us. Like, I wouldn't be threatened until it starts eating us, going, oh wow, I was not expecting that at all. It just looks so adorable.
The whole thing with the books was like weird, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
this child discovers, like, oh, everything we've ever been taught is false, and like, dude, shut up.
Yeah, I get it. They want us to look at the way we, look at history and change the way, change the way we look at history, not, everything that was in a book is, yeah, I'm just like, whatever. I don't watch movies for that kind of message, and especially not a children's movie.
I'll say, to me, the one that was even like a little bit worse than the preacher little girl was like the first mate, when she's like, "Oh, first mate, you're the most loyal person ever," and then all of a sudden she turns and like joins the little girl. I was like, I don't understand what you said to make it change.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that part, I like you said, like for me, I thought the captain was decently done. I thought Jacob was decently done. I thought Maisie, the girl, like story wise, she had a great beginning. Like her parents had died and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then, and I do, like I said, I thought the beginning was great, and I did think like story wise flatline. I could see what they went for designing Red the way they designed Red. You know what I mean? Because you're saying, yeah, you would look at it and like, oh look, this is cute, but you see it coming and you just, hey, let's run, and we're not going to spend time waiting to see if this big monster is going to eat us or not. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
guess overall they were trying to create a look. It's not as bad as everyone thought it was.
I think they were looking at it as this is easier to sell as a toy than anything else.
No, I think
Well,
I agree more with Kevin, but I think like also there was no like I kept thinking that this red monster was like her parents reincarnated or something because there was no other explanation to why all of a sudden the monster and the girl were able to connect and or bond the way that they did.
Yeah.
listen, the first one who was nice to her.
So, you know, I've heard Quentin Tarantino describing the writing process and other writers, good ones, saying that, you know, first they develop the characters, and for better, more or less, they allow the characters to tell them where the story's going or how the action unfolds. This is not that. You
Yeah.
know, they spend no time on the characters. They just know where they need to end up, and so they write the story to be able to, you know, just emphasize that message but just to get to where they need to go, which is some veiled, you know, again, moralistic, you know, message, you know, that you need to decipher. Is it about the environment? Is it about animals? Is it about the Bible or society? Like just something nebulous there, but you need to know that we are high and mighty and we're trying to teach you a lesson, so pay attention.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
No, I
Well,
know,
like
and
even
that's why I don't like. I can't stand movies like that because movies are supposed to be enjoyable. I don't want to hear your lesson. I don't want to hear your message. I just want to watch a movie.
you can see that.
And
But yeah, go
yeah,
ahead, Juan.
no, again, it's a shame. For one, I thought Carl Urban did a good job. Like I, for the most part, liked his character, and I thought he did a great job of sort of bringing that character to life with his, you know, vocal acting. So I feel like, you know, they wasted him. And again, there were awesome elements, man. If this was like some epic adventure about them going after the monsters and
You're
heroism
going
and,
after the sea beast.
you know, this or that, like that would have been that. There were even the relationship with the girl, you know, when you have something like Moana very recently, you know, that was also similar, a relationship between this, you know, almost Superman like figure and this, you know, vulnerable human girl, like but I mean, just miss the mark completely and throw away anything good that this movie had going for it at the beginning. Even, I mean, I will just say the one part of the animation that was impressive to me was, I mean, anytime you're doing something that takes place, you know, for the majority on the ocean, that is pretty impressive. There was a really cool scene that I really liked towards the beginning where I think um the something was lighting up the sky. I don't remember if it was a monster
I think it was a
or
flare.
They're showing
yeah
flares.
if it's something with flares, like it was really cool looking. But outside of that, man, I could not wait for this thing to end.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Moana because the director is actually was a writer for Moana.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did see them flaunting that
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah, I like the scene where they pulled out the new flagship, and it was just
Uh-huh.
going to town and all the
Yeah.
explosions and I mean that little scene and just Red plowing right through it.
Yeah.
That was a really nice, visually appealing scene. But man, I can't tell you after they get in touch with Maisie and until they get to that island by themselves at Red, I don't remember what happened. Like I can't tell you what happened. I know they were going places and they got swallowed and they saw this and they went over here. I don't remember at all. It was just mindless. I think my eyes glazed over.
Yeah.
And then I saw explosions with the ship. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
And Again, I might be a little tainted because like I guess the animation stuff that more stuff from like Disney Pixar has been very flat, so maybe
Yeah.
that boosted this up to me. Like, like what was it, Luca and all those? I'm like, I may have seen them once and they were all just whatever. So maybe I just had fun with this one.
No,
But
you know
like I
what I
said, like
think it is too, man. I think more for you. You get more enjoyment out of it when your girls get enjoyment out of it too.
it's true because the other joy that rang out. No, it's true. The other joy
No.
that rang out when Blue returned, he was missing and he returned.
Yeah.
Those girls were great. It was insane in my room. I was like, they're like, yeah. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. So you're a
Well,
little biased with your movie reviews because you put a little dash of them in it too.
yeah.
Nothing
Y'all,
wrong with
y'all,
that.
y'all get there. Y'all will get there.
Maybe. See, I look at it as like, is this because this movie wasn't for me, clearly. And I kind of look at it as, well, am I gonna show this to Apollos? And I mean, I feel like that's one of those things that I would just put on the background because there's certain scenes that he can catch and go, oh, that was cool. And then there's a lot of stuff he can miss. So it's just, that's Encanto, bro. He watches that and we're singing, we're dancing, like we're engaged the whole time. This was not an engaging movie and it doesn't need a flashy soundtrack. I mean, those first 10 minutes, I was hooked. Like that hook was deep in my cheek and I was wiggling on the ground. I was ready to go. But then, yeah, they threw me back in the water and said, have fun, little buddy. And I just sat there going, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
I was ready to be dinner for somebody.
Yeah. I mean,
they didn't get you back with the rocket spear?
No, that was so dumb. And it's like the poison's gonna kill you. Psych.
yeah.
I was like, oh man, wow, maybe this thing is gonna like muster up his last ounce of strength to like save the girl and die a valiant death. No, just turned around and said deuces. So it was so silly.
Yeah, like when Mark brought up when they unveiled like the Royal Navy ship, that kind of what I felt like a little callback to Pirates of the Caribbean, with the Commodore and stuff like that. So again, I was like, oh, is there going to be some kind of rivalry here, and is that going to be sort of the central conflict of the film? Not quite so. I did like. I did think that the one song that they had, which was the sea shanty,
at the end,
at the end and at the beginning where they were at the first pub.
Oh yeah, I wasn't listening
Like
to that.
they had the same song then, like that. It was really good.
Yeah,
and I mean, you're talking about Apollos, and maybe what he'll be watching as he gets older. If it'll be something like this. I mean, it definitely is a spectacle. I think that kids will enjoy viewing at some point, and especially like if they like marine life, or there's cool elements, like again, pirates and swashbuckling and swinging from the top of the ship and the ropes and all this stuff. But it's so far removed from the movies that we grew up with, that we loved, because of not only the story they told, but the elements that they had, including the songs and the animation, but also the great characters and the conflict for those characters. And it's like, I don't see this as a movie that would hold up over time. Kids watch things over and over again, but I don't think, like, we still have fond memories and sentimental feelings towards Lion King or Aladdin, stuff like that. I mean, I can't speak for every child in the world who views this
yes,
movie,
you can.
but I mean, it's just not the same, and it's just too preachy. It's too heavy-handed with, now movies need to lay it on so thick, or else they're almost not, worthy. It's like, it's no longer an art form. It's just an ideology, that it's just a vehicle for an ideology that needs to be presented. So, and even the great artists that probably did work on this, it's a shame, because again, it won't last, you know. And I'm sure I don't know. I'm sure there's an argument also to be made again about where we are today with cinema and streaming and things releasing on a small screen as opposed to a big screen. You know, I'll let Christopher Nolan and Quentin Tarantino and all the big guns duke it out over that stuff. But certainly, I think when you have so many movies coming out on these platforms, you know, and there's such an overabundance
Yeah.
of options, it's like for me that also adds to the fact that like this will be forgettable, you know, and it won't really make an impact on anyone long term.
Yeah, I was really sad by the runtime.
Yeah.
Well, I had to do a double take. I think I squinted and got really close to the screen. Like, are those numbers correct? And boy, it felt that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kudos to your girls. I don't know how they stayed invested for so long. Because I mean, I feel like the best parts were just they were spread out far, far, far away from each other.
We gotta remember, like, kids aren't looking for nuance. They, they like the pretty colors. They like, I said, for the most part, what Juan said earlier, like the animation of the water and the ocean, like all that stuff was great. So that just keeps them, they're not looking for a nuance, building. They're happy that the little girl's having her moment at the end.
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah,
and why I do think it seems a little like it's a little heavy handed, like, all right, this girl's like standing on top of this beast, addressing everybody, and she's making the change. Um, like, again, it may be a little preachy, but it's not. Again, there's other stuff in other movies, like other animations that, like, just like I said, like, that just present things to your children that they're not even telling you. I think there's a cartoon on Netflix that's coming out that doesn't even tell you that the main characters are transsexual. It's just a cartoon for kids, and you find out in the
why?
first episode that there's a
Why?
that the main character is transsexual, and they bring it up. What I mean, but it's not on any of the trailers, it's not on any of the previews, not mentioned at all. But hey, there you go. And even the girls like Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, because there's a dinosaurs. We saw Dominion, and we were watching it, and I'm glad I was sitting there with them because all of a sudden, like, these two characters, these girls, profess their feelings for each other, which is one thing, and then they just start making out in this cartoon, and I'm
Really?
like, oh yeah, just straight on. I'm like, okay, we're gonna turn this off because I don't care if they're gay or straight. I wouldn't want to see a boy and a girl
I
just
just don't
making out.
understand why we need to see it. I don't
Yeah.
Yeah,
understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about, like, they were open mouth, and they were like, "Oh, finally!" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, I had no idea. Like, if I hadn't been there, my kids would just been watching stuff. And again, they don't watch a lot of movies because people are making out or whatever. I'm like, this doesn't need to be. And I think that's why I was trying to say, like, it's gonna talk, like, critique and, like, state of animation today, but it's
Yeah.
just, I guess, to me, like, the little girl, being a little preachy and like, hey, don't believe everything that people tell you. Check it out for yourself. Wasn't that bad of a message because I tell my girls that about everything that they learn at school and everything. I'm like, well, if you're learning something, you have to ask why. Let's find out. Even the stuff I teach them, like, don't just take it because I say it. Say, all right, Daddy, why is this something? And we
Yeah.
delve back. So to me, that wasn't like that bad of a message. The books, like, what? Hey,
No, I
I
didn't
teach
say
the
it was
girls
a
the
bad
Bible.
message. I just
No, I'm not
Right.
saying.
I don't care for it.
Like,
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
yeah. But at least, like, for me, I always tell my girls that. So I guess that's why it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And again, with seeing this other stuff, and again, like, I try to get back to CDs. Like, I thought animation wise, it was better than some stuff we've seen. You know what I mean? And again, I guess because I've also seen, like, the Bad Guys this year and Minions 2 and even Sea Beast. It's just better than most of the stuff that I've seen recently because we've seen some really bad, like, cartoons, animations. And I was like, girls, you can't watch this movie again. Not this one, but other ones.
You watch too many movies, man. Let me get to that. But what I was gonna say is that
Ugh.
um, it's not. Yeah, again, I don't even care about the message. It was the idea that they just use this as a vehicle to do that and totally betrayed, their first duty to the audience, which is to entertain. So that, is the main problem. And again, I mean, I would just encourage you to just embrace your cinematic snob, and be more selective, because um, you know, I don't know what kind of movies Ophelia is going to enjoy right now. She loves Coco Melon, which I actually think is really good. So I'm pleased with that choice, although I think Mark disagrees. But I will, when it comes to it, like I want to expose them to, and I do appreciate what you're saying about, and I agree, it is a more wholesome, certainly a vastly more wholesome message than in comparison to other stuff that's being released today. So yeah, definitely not gonna knock it for that, and I appreciate that. But for me, it's got to be that combined with a high standard for just good good cinema, like good storytelling. Like I want her to know, like, what makes a good story, like, and to appreciate like the art form, and especially like when you see it done well, how that is so vastly better and different than most of the other crap that comes out. But again, like I said, I do embrace my cinematic snob, my musical snobbery, a lot of that stuff, and I just encourage you guys to, give way to that side of yourself. Allow it to take over and just embrace the snobbery.
He wants us to stop picking bad movies. For the love of God, please, guys, stop picking
Listen.
terrible movies.
No, there was no way of knowing with this. I don't blame Kevin for picking this. I actually appreciated that it was our first
Animated?
time delving into animation, and again, it had such good elements. When he said the pick, I wasn't excited about it, but I still enjoy the really good animated movies that are out there, that I was like, hey man, I will.
Encanto.
Oh, Encanto was spectacular. Yeah, exactly.
I'll go watch that right now.
But it did not. It did not. You know, um, it did not do anything for me. It was, incredibly disappointing. So,
Yeah.
not your fault, Kevin.
No. Now my retort. While I
Taking
do
notes.
appreciate your desire for us to embrace our snobbery, which I do. I do think I have a movie snob, and that's where my Casablancas and my Rashomons and Citizen Kanes all exist. But like, I also just enjoy a movie, just to enjoy a movie. Like the girls, like they'll watch a 500 episode anime that's long form storytelling, and they'll enjoy it, and they can break it down for you, like what happens. So like story wise, like I do, they watch a lot more long form stories that keep their mind engaged and have a lot of twists and turns. But I also do want to teach them that, what, sometimes you watch a movie, it may not be the greatest, but you know what, all right, I enjoyed it. Never watching that again. But that's it. Like, and you let it go. You just brush it off your little, 3-piece suit, and you go back to the movies next week. And that's it.
Or in Juan's case, you cry yourself to sleep after trying to rub your eyes out from watching this terrible filth that he's been forced to watch.
Life's too short, man. Life's too short. I'm gonna get a bumper sticker that says "Life's too short to make me watch a bad movie."
Damn, man, don't put it like that, because you know me and time, bro. I hate losing time, and if
Yeah, man. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not one of those people that, I have friends or I know people who, um, they'll read maybe a book, about an opposing view, in order to like learn more or whatever. Like, I guess I'm too judgmental for that, like I'm just like, I know enough about it, I don't need to read it because it's gonna be garbage. I would rather read stuff that, and I know many people that would, disagree and say, that's exactly what you shouldn't do. But I and again, I mean, because of who I am as a Christian and the foundation of my life, being what I know to be true, that's what I judge, a lot of that stuff off of. And I guess in the to bring this over to like cinema, I guess even shows, you're gonna get it wrong every now and then, but for the most part I try to be discerning, and look at what people are saying about it, or go off of, who the actors are, who the directors are, have like this repertoire of like different filters that I use to determine, if something is ultimately, worthy of the time that I'm going to invest into it, even under the understanding that it might still disappoint me, but it checked off enough boxes that there was a solid argument there for me to invest the time, and sort of be okay with that failure, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the way that normally, outside of the podcast, I judge, what movies I watch, which again, I get that makes my perspective very limited, and I should probably open up myself to more stuff. But it's like, just don't have the time, man. If I could just sit around watching movies all day, sure, there's plenty. One of my favorite activities is just scrolling through Netflix or Hulu and just seeing what's on there. And I'm like, oh, that looks good. That looks good. And I might even add them to my queue, but some that I'll just never watch because they never kind of maybe rise to the top of my priority list. I mean, at this point in my life, I'm only watching like one movie a week. I wish it was a lot more than that. But when that's all you have, I just hope it can be you can empathize a little bit for why I do try to be more selective. Although I do appreciate the podcast, and we've definitely come across some gems that I never would have watched, if you guys hadn't, dragged me to do that. So it's a good experience, but it's just not one that I often allow myself to take part in.
If you think about it the way you're speaking, though, I mean, realistically, a movie is taking up less time like a TV show would,
Yeah.
or a book would.
Yeah.
The only knock against movies is you have to dedicate a large sum of time. A book you can break down to 30 minutes a day, a TV show 32 an hour a day.
Yeah.
But a movie you have to commit. But I mean, if you look at long term, movies are they're more bang for your buck because you have a higher chance of consuming more good than more bad. And with a book, if you spend a full 2 weeks reading a bad book, you're pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
If you come out of a 2-hour movie, you're like, man, that sucked. Let's go get a beer.
Yeah.
It's a quicker the sting. It doesn't hurt as much. But I think that's a nice little argument, or a nice little argument right there. Because I would rather watch a bad movie than read a bad book. I mean, I know Kristen, she's an avid book reader, and I mean, she's flat out given up books halfway through when she lost a week. She's like, I can't read this anymore. It's stupid. They're coming this dumb message, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And now she's got a book, and I'm just like, oh, sorry, sorry about your bad luck. So I don't know. I think that's why I stick to movies, because they're little pops of joy for me. And I really don't mind doing bad movies. And I actually actively look for bad movies, because that also helps me appreciate the movies that I do like. And it kind of solidifies the things that I know I like and that I seek, that I know, okay, I go more towards good movies, of course. But I have no problem with the little dirty, guilty pleasure. But, that's just not something I seek because, time is valuable.
Yeah.
So that's how I approach movies. That's usually my mindset. I'm more of a free spirit. I'm topless running through the field right now.
But you see, Mark, this is why I want more people to listen to the podcast, because if more people listen to the podcast, then eventually,
You'll have
you
more
know,
people that say that our picks suck.
no, but you know, someday in fantasy land, this could be what we do full time, and then I
And then
could
we can watch movies.
I could
Yeah.
dedicate much more time to watching crappy movies.
Yeah, you'd be way more willing to watch CB's 2 Rise of Blue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, for the record, I thought Blue was Red's baby. So
I mean, it was kind of like, obviously they don't look the same, so that's why it made me think otherwise. But the fact that they were going with single colored names, I was like, yeah, that's its kid, I guess, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a little boy, a blue sea beast.
Yeah, I didn't see Blue's little nub, so I don't know.
All right.
Touch on. Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before you all right me.
No,
But,
go ahead.
real quick. No, but on what you said, Juan, I'm like, there's no right way or wrong way to consume things. If you like what you like it. You know what I mean? I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're like, hey, I'm gonna stay in this lane, stay in that lane. You know what I mean? If Mark, like I said, like Mark likes some movies that me and you aren't necessarily a fan of the genre, you like it, stay in. I think that's the beauty of movies. It's like it's such a there's stuff we can watch, like me and you can watch, and we're like, oh, we hate this. Mark loves it, and vice versa. And we've done it on this podcast. I think that's what the beauty of movies are about. Like I only watch like one or two. I watch the podcast movie, and I try to watch a movie like with the girls like once a week, whether it's an old throwback or something new. So like I do just enjoy that time, and I guess I enjoy cinema just for what it is. Like whether I throw it on the background or just have it, it's just a familiar old friend. Like even if it's something new, and like, again, something that's not the greatest. Like even like other movies we reviewed, you're like, you know what? I spent my time doing it. I enjoy movies. I know I didn't like that one, and again, it's not nothing that sticks with you forever if it's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and you stay you if that's what you want to do, Juan. And if Mark wants to do it, you say you topless in that field running.
I have to correct your statement, bro. There are right and wrong ways of consuming things.
Mm-hmm.
If I tell you that I like having grass-fed beef served to me at my anus, that's a wrong way to consume.
Mm-hmm.
But to me,
there's no buts. There's no buts.
No. But there's literally a butt. You said anus, so there's literally a butt. But no, like I said, if that's what you want, I'm like, man, go be wrong over there, buddy.
If that's what you want, I'll hold your hair back while you slide that patty up your anal cavity.
No, it's not going to happen in my household, but there you go.
No, we're in my house.
Oh, well, then I'm leaving your house.
When I invite people over, they help me consume grass-fed beef.
Then I guess I won't be going over.
All right, we're getting off the rails.
It is a healthier route though, the grass-fed. But
and you absorb it better.
It slides easier.
Yeah, all right. I say we go to the ratings. Kevin, you have the honor of going first.
Do I now? All right. All right. I would say, you know what? You lived a great life and you die a great death. And I thought this movie was a 2. Like it was. Oh, I forgot you didn't break down our poll, but that's the middle of the road. It's watch it. Nothing great. Like my kids rewatched it. I haven't watched it again, but my kids rewatched it. I thought it was beautifully.
I also thought it was beautifully as well.
I'm thinking he was gonna say animated.
Well, I think he's trying to figure out what the next word actually is.
He's really thinking it through.
He's really trying to muster up some BS review here.
Yeah.
So I'll jump in. Choked up thinking about this review. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take over. So if this was a short 10-minute film, 3 Little Jerrys, but unfortunately there was a runtime that included another 190 minutes. That's probably bad math on my part, but it was a long time. And as the movie progressed, I just started offering more Little Jerrys to the slaughter. And by the end of it, since I will follow the reviews, there was only one little Jerry left. I don't plan on watching this again. I don't even plan on showing it to my son, not because of a message or anything like that. I just didn't think it was a good movie.
Yeah.
It started off great. If this was, swashbuckling the seas, I mean that this could have been like Treasure Planet 2.0. Like, I mean, those first were really good. But then it just got lost, and it started world building for this, inevitable message, and it's just it wasn't enjoyable anymore. So yeah, that's one little Jerry for me.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your dedication to sticking with the ratings format that we have agreed upon. I will not.
I knew it's coming.
And I was thinking, I gave Steven Spielberg's West Side Story a 0.
Yeah.
I was very tempted to do the same for this one,
Oh.
although I do agree with Kevin. I mean, I would much prefer you watch this than some of the other stuff, West Side Story and other stuff that's out there, including Lightyear and whatnot. So for that, I'll give it a 0.5.
Oh, okay.
0.5 little Jerry's. Do not watch this, but if you do force yourself or someone else to watch this, at least it's pretty wholesome.
Yeah, bring a small bag of popcorn, because you'll be glad you had it for the first half, and then you'll just be twiddling your thumbs by the end. I think it's safe to say that Kevin was going to say a 2.
Yeah. He said 2.
So I mean, obviously with technical difficulties, I don't know how long he's going to be, and I don't want to keep people on just waiting for him.
Nah.
Frankly, he had the best reviews, so I guess you got most of it, and then we came behind and just roasted it. So
I was gonna say, you said bring a small bag of popcorn. I was gonna say bring some grass-fed beef.
So you can start consuming it halfway through. That's more enjoyable than finishing this movie. That's for sure.
All right. Well, we started off as 3. We ended up
sliding patties up our anus.
We ended up with just the 2 of us, but hey, that's the way that it was meant to be. Signing off. My name is Juan, and Mark.
Yeah.
Peace.
Love you.